When I was a kid growing up, I used to love reading a good vampire story. A really chilling story about the undead that made you realize the otherness, the scary void of an animated corpse that lusts after your blood. I read two of the great ones. One of them was Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and a book called I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. And the beauty of those two books is that they brought to urban America the reality of a very ancient European evil. They made it palpable, they made it accessible, and they made it incredibly now. The Strain was intended as a book that makes you believe that your next-door neighbor could have turned into a creature like this. That there is no safe place, that your living room, your bedroom, your normal house in the suburbs can suddenly be invaded by creatures that are completely alien to human nature.
Guillermo del Toro has taken a lifetime of infatuation with vampires, placed it in a very biologically unromantic setting.
This story has been with him for a long time, and he had a very specific ideas, especially about, say, the biology of the creatures. It was as though he was quoting from some sort of book somewhere.
The vampires have a whole biological side that I figured out over more than 20 years. I tried to make the vampires as menacing and as real and as absolutely disgusting and alien as possible. I tried to make them into a plague of creatures where you do not recognize the humanity, but our own inhumanity in them. The Strain was divided in 3 books, and each of the books tackled a different aspect of vampirism. The first one was biology. The second one was sociology. And the third one was spirituality and mythology. The overarching idea in the 3 books is that the supernatural and science, at the end of the day, when you go deep enough on both of them, they touch. The books make a point, and the series will make a point, of finding the scientific approach to vampirism turn into a spiritual journey at the end.
Guillermo and Chuck Hogan created a unique world, one that we've never seen before, and I think that's what makes it so exciting as a television show.
In the development, Guillermo was clear about what he wanted in terms of, the key elements, and we looked at how we could max out, a television budget very ambitiously. I just started to make it.
The Strain is the most fun I've ever had writing anything, ever. And writing the stories for the series is proven to be equally rewarding. These are characters that I know better than any other characters I've ever worked with.
He always saw them as TV shows. But one thing he was absolutely clear about, and I couldn't have agreed more, was that the books be the books. And now, it's so much fun to go back into the same world and take it to television.
We wanted very much to try to do the series as faithful to the story beats of the books as possible. We'll go from A to B to C to D, but between A and B, we'll get lost. And between B and C, we'll get lost. We'll allow the characters to do what they want.
If you wish to defeat this evil, you must trust me. I understand this. You do not.
Guillermo and Chuck have reimagined the books for the screen and taken risks with it. In some cases, just made it more spectacular and more human.
They now have a chance to flush out a lot of the characters and give you more backstory, because it is a series. It's not a movie where you have to cut things. It's a series where now you can have some more fun with it.
There's strength in numbers. We must make a plan and act together.
The great thing about TV, a character that comes in for 3 episodes is so great that you cannot kill it. So you write him for the rest of the series. A character that you thought was going to be there for good outgrows his welcome, and you gotta kill it.
In the book, Jim Kent actually gets infected early on, but we really wanted to establish F, Nora, and Jin as this sort of triumvirate. So we knew that we wanted to keep Jim around much longer, and we've been sort of working toward this episode the whole time.
Once I turn, I'm gonna go after them, right? Guillermo and Chuck were good enough to tell me when I got the part that I would die soon. So there's nothing unexpected about this.
It's sort of the nature of our story that everyone is vulnerable and everything's up for grabs.
They may introduce others, they do not exist in the books. Dutch doesn't exist in the books.
She was not in the books at all. She's a new character created for the show. We were really interested in how someone could subvert social media and the modern digital age that we live in. And so she's a character who was originally hired by Eldridge Palmer to help take down the internet and cell phones, basically so that any sort of knowledge about what might really be happening couldn't spread.
Dutch is a kind of misfit that comes into the group halfway through the series. She's sort of a bad girl making good.
They may decide to make a character bigger than actually he is, which is the case for Eichhorst. Because Eichhorst is a combination of two characters. One they talk of in the first book, and namely Eichhorst in the second book.
Palmer's changed. There's no resuscitation in the books. I've had a couple of drops of something that if you could bottle it, you'd make an absolute fortune. Because Palmer, I've been on my deathbed for the best part of this season. I've only really been saved at the 11th hour by the Master, basically because I'm still very useful.
There is a possibility of adaptation which is incredibly thrilling because we're basically in the same condition as a very passionate spectator who wants to know what's going on next. What happens to me? What happens to Dutch? We may live longer, we may live the life which is indicated in the books, we may live shorter. It's an open book. We don't know.
That makes it exciting because if you've read the book, you can't say, well, you know, I know exactly what's going to happen, because you don't. Because I don't, and I'm here, and I'm playing Vasily, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm going.
The books will allow you to go deeper into the world and the situations in some aspects, and then the TV show will take you off on a different tangent. Maybe something that we weren't able to get into the books we can do in the TV show. There's a real good yin and yang between them.
Let's finish this. Spring out!
At the end of season 1, there's a huge siege. The group take on a huge amount of vampires and the Master inside the theatre. And at the end, we see the group driving away, seeing Manhattan burning. And it's the first time the group really see the extent of what's been happening.
You're not sure how are they going to regroup and go on from this. And like, how do they fight an entity this powerful?
They're going to be recruiting some new people. We're going to meet some vampires that are fighting the Master and his vampires. So really, the plot thickens.
The end of the season really gives you a very clear sense that the story is even bigger than we saw in season 2. It's not going to be more of the same. It's going to be much bigger.
The scope of the show just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
At the moment, it's just the beginning. We'll see what happens with the rest of the world after this.